Hi, my name is Tanner. I'm a Porsche specialist here at HBI Auto. Today we're going to be going through and showing you our inspection process for all of our vehicles we get in, all of our documentation, how we do things, and to make sure we check our vehicles to the highest standard. We're inside of the vehicle to start. First thing we do, we go through and make sure all of our lights are working on the interior, on top right here, and in the rear of the vehicle. Make sure our sun visor and our sunroof is in operating shape. We're going to go through, check all of our suspension pieces, all of our HVAC system controls, seat controls, which are all right here in the center. Make sure our parking brake is working normally. Then we're going to go through the dash right here. We're going to make sure that all of our maintenance lights are in date. I'll show you here. Go through, look at our inspections, see when it needs a service, when it needs its oil maintenance, make sure it's ready to go for you whenever you get here to buy. Main things, check the exterior lights as well, make sure our rear wing is working, all of that good stuff. Make sure our interior condition is in good shape, nice and clean, no tears, anything of that nature. Make sure all of our windows work, locks, anything like that. All right, so now we're going to be taking a peek under the hood here. First thing that I always do on these vehicles is I've got a brake fluid tester. We're going to go through, check your moisture content on your brake fluid. That way there's no sort of brake loss, anything of that nature. A lot of the times we'll pull this bar right here on these Panamera 971s, take the engine cover off, inspect the valve covers, front timing cover for any sort of oil leaks, major or minor, anything like that up here. We're going to check our fluid levels, coolant reservoir, washer fluid reservoir, make sure everything's topped up, we're not low on any sort of fluids. And then we're going to step to the side of the vehicle. We're going to check our tires and we're going to check our brake level. First thing we're going to do when we raise the vehicle up, we're going to raise it about halfway here. We're going to check our tire depth and as well as our brake level right here. This is what we're going to be using to check our tire tread depth. It's measured in 30/2 of an inch. Goes right here under the fender. On the second tread from the outside is the way I normally like to do these. Push it down. We're going to pull it back out. You can see here that we're right before that 7/32 of an inch mark on our tread depth, so that's a good shape. Moving on to our brakes here, we're going to go through, this is our brake gauges. Goes right through the wheel well, goes in behind the pad. You can see there's not a lot of movement there. So that means that our front brake is going to be at 5 millimeters. Typically on these cars, the inside pad wears about 1 millimeter lower than the fronts. So in this car at 5 millimeters, we're going to go ahead and try to replace these front brakes. That way they're in very good condition. All right, and since you've seen that process, we're going to go through and do that on all 4 wheels, of course, and ensure that everything's in the same shape, that there's not one side wearing more than the other. That would indicate some sort of issue with our caliper, or if we got some sort of alignment issue with one of our tires. Another thing we're going to inspect before we go all the way up with the vehicle is we've got our front intercoolers here. We always like to check on these cars with turbochargers to make sure that there's not any sort of real major fin damage that you can see right here. And there's no leaves blocking up the airflow, things of that sort. Finally, we're going to be stepping under the vehicle. We're going to take a peek at a lot of things. We're going to be checking for oil leaks mainly. We're going to look up at the front of our engine here. A lot of these cars have timing cover leaks coming from the timing cover bolts. That's one main thing we like to look for on these cars. Looks like it's in good shape on this vehicle. The front of the engine is looking very dry. On a lot of these cars, these will have timing cover bolt leaks. The top 2 bolts on each corner of the V of the engine will seep oil past, and it'll cover the whole front of the engine with oil. On this vehicle, of course, that's not the case. It looks very dry. It looks like it's in very good shape. This is, of course, a low mile vehicle as well. Another thing that we're going to look for is any sort of seepage around the oil pan here or around our drain plug. Make sure that's been replaced every time, been serviced correctly. Now moving to the back of the vehicle, we're going to be checking the similar components back here. We're going to be checking suspension components, our bushings on our lower right here. Make sure it's not torn, not dry rotted and worn out real bad. Another thing that we like to check on these vehicles is to make sure that our airbags here don't have any sort of tears in them. They're not leaking down. You'll have these cars sometimes, these will tear and they'll be riding on the wheels. Especially on this vehicle, we like to check, since it's a 4S Panamera, we're going to check the rear axles on these as well. All of them appear to be in good shape on the inside. Another thing I like to check on these vehicles is to make sure that our axle seal right here is not leaking. That's a common failure point on these vehicles, is the axle seal will start to leak, and that's not just our Panameras. That's on all of our Carreras, our 997s, our 991s, anything like that. Check this side as well. Looks like it's in good shape. Of course, check this side as well. We have brake ducts in the back as well. Lowers over here. Another thing that we like to check on these vehicles is our exhaust. I like to give them a smack with my hand here, make sure they're not having any sort of rattle, anything of that nature. We've seen these before where the hangers come in and they're broke. The exhaust is just hanging down, kind of limp. So we want to make sure that that's in good working order as well. Another thing to note is we have our sway bar bushings here. These can go out on these vehicles and cause a squeak. We want to check them, bring them all the way out, check our links as well, make sure our links are in good shape. Crossbars, support brackets, anything like that. Of course, like I mentioned, the exhaust hanger right here. And that is about going to do it for us on our video inspection. All right, thank you for staying with me. That was a quick overview of how we do our inspection down here at HPI Auto. We appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment if you have any sort of questions. Please reach out to us if you want any sort of service. We'd be happy to have your business. Thank you.